Hi guys, so probably you'd never thought you'd actually hear me agree with Nigel Farage, but in this video he says a lot of things that make a lot of sense. Some things I will disagree with him on, and I'll explain that, but let's hear what he has to say about the lockdown.
Are we easing lockdown too soon? I wish that we had a proper test and trace system in place, such as Germany had 3 months ago. But
This is quite funny. You have a Brexiteer, the king of Brexit, complimenting a European Union country. But he is right. Germany approached this the right way. Germany dealt with this, and now they are reaping the benefits. There are still a lot of cases in Germany, but they're not under the type of lockdown that the UK is under. Germany realized it was important to have PPE, it was important to do testing, and they hit the ground running. If you contrast that with the UK approach, it was, let's try this, no, it doesn't work. Let's try this other thing, no, it doesn't work. Let's try something else, it doesn't work. And what happened was you lost valuable time. There was an attempt to maybe ignore the problem. This is the only rational conclusion I can come to in respect to the British approach. Ignore the problem and it will probably go away. But of course it didn't.
we don't. I get the risks. The R is somewhere between 0.7 and 0.9. I get the risks. I understand them. I wish we were urging people to wear face masks, to do other things.
I agree 100% again with Nigel here. We should be encouraging people to wear masks, to wash their hands. This was talked about at the beginning, but it's no longer front and center. I think, and I've said this in the past as well, in respect to the daily briefing by the government. Why not have Matt Hancock, Boris Johnson, the chief medical officer, put on a mask, enter the room where they do this briefing, take off the mask, give the briefing, put the mask on again, and then leave. Why? Because this would reinforce the necessity of wearing a mask in the minds of the public. Because if the public don't see the Prime Minister or senior ministers wearing a mask, then they will ask themselves, well, why should I wear a mask? If Boris Johnson doesn't think it's important, then why should I think it's important? But if you see Boris Johnson wearing a mask on a continuous basis, then you're going to consider, maybe it's important to wear a mask. Of course, this doesn't work on everyone, but the more people it works on, the better. And what is the cost? There's no cost for the government by wearing a mask. There's zero cost for Boris Johnson to put on a mask and give his speech. You know, something simple as having also hand sanitizer as they enter the room to give the speech. I know some people will say, look, it looks like a publicity stunt, or it looks a bit tacky. But it's about reinforcing a message that you want the public to remember and to implement. It's good and fine saying stay at home or stay alert or maintain social distancing. These are words. Yes, they're important. They're words. But show that you're doing it also. Wear a mask. The image, I think, of a Prime Minister wearing the mask would reinforce it in the public eye.
However, the idea that we're following the science is now out of the window, because we already have overnight, Professor John Edmonds, Sir Jeremy Farrar, and others who are part of the SAGE committee saying they think it's too early. There's no such thing as following the science. It's nonsense, because scientists always have different opinions.
No, first of all, I have to correct you here about this. Scientists having different opinions. Scientists don't have different opinions. Scientists present the evidence. And then if you ask them which way should we go, they can tell you, well, if you follow the evidence and go in this direction, you will have this conclusion. If you follow the evidence and go in this other direction, you will have this other conclusion. Scientists are very, very careful about what they say. If you listen to scientists speaking, and I'm talking about reasonable, real scientists, not fake scientists, but if you listen to real scientists, they never make conclusive statements. They always say something like, well, this is what you can do. This is what will happen if you do this. But they will never say you must do X or you must do Y. They will always say this is what will happen if we follow this path, or this is what will happen according to the models, according to the evidence, if we go in this other path. They're always very protective against making statements that they would say of opinion. They say these are the facts, this is the evidence, and this is what we can do with it.
There are voices saying it's too early, we're taking a risk, we shouldn't be doing this. But on balance, I have to say that I think we've got to ease the lockdown. I think when you look at the excess death figures in this country, you realise we are now the second worst in the world.
Now, the two things here. So, first of all, he was correct about the we have to ease the lockdown. Now, first of all, I want to say very clearly that I am pro easing the lockdown, but it's about when, not in general about easing the lockdown. I want to get out. I want to go have a beer. I want to go hiking. I need to lose weight. I've been sitting down for too long. I want to do. I want to smell the air in the mountains. But I understand that I need to do it at the right time. Otherwise, that dream of going hiking will be taken away from me. So I need to wait. We need to end the lockdown at the right time.
And that is because the total focus on COVID-19
sorry, yes, he also brought up this issue. I'll let him finish and then I'll come back.
has meant so many other people have died of conditions that we haven't treated because we haven't actually got the room in our hospitals to do it.
So yes, he's talking about the excess deaths, and I compliment Nigel Farage here. I really do, because very few commentators are talking about this. The excess deaths are the numbers of people who are dying, not just of COVID, but because they don't have access to medical care. Now, in some cases, it's because the hospitals are full. In other cases, it's because people are afraid to go to hospital. In the latter, it's very important that the government encourage people, if they don't feel well, or if they have a medical emergency, or if they have suspended treatment, that they get back into hospital as soon as possible. That the hospitals will be prepared for non-COVID patients. Because as he has said, many people are dying because they can't either get into hospital or they are avoiding hospital. And this is a tragedy. There are people who have postponed cancer treatments, operations, very important treatments, because they're afraid to get into hospital. So it's very, very important that both the NHS and the government explain to people, explain to the public, if the hospital is open, do not stay at home. Do not be afraid to enter the hospital.
At the moment, I also think in economic terms that this going on much longer. I mean, goodness knows how many restaurants, pubs will just simply never, ever reopen. And a big feeling out there for so many of the self-employed and sole traders in this country who just can't last much longer with this. And finally,
I actually truly believe Nigel here. I'm extremely critical of Nigel Farage, but I believe in his eyes and in his voice that he is deeply concerned about business owners, pubs, restaurants that will go to the wall because they've been closed for so long, or because they won't be able to adapt to the new normal. Now, I feel sorry for them also, but we're entering a new normal. We can't go back, and I get very angry with people who imply that, well, once this is over, we can go back to the way it was before. We're not going back to the way it was before. Businesses who think they can go back to the way it was before will close. It's a matter of fact. But businesses who can adapt will survive. Now, maybe some businesses can't adapt, but that doesn't have to be the end of your career as a business owner. You can reopen and start another business, but using the knowledge you have gained to be successful. The entire economy is going to change. We're going to rely more on online business. We're going to rely more on couriers taking food and products to our doors. We're going to rely on things that we can't even think of at the moment. So if you're prepared for that, then you will survive, and you may be even successful. But once again, anyone who wants to go back to the way it was before are fooling themselves. It's not going to happen.
The reason I think we have to ease the lockdown is because this idea there'll be a vaccine by October or some miracle cure. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I think it's for the birds.
I love this expression. I think it's for the birds. And I agree 100% again with Nigel. There isn't going to be a vaccine. Yes, it would be nice, but it's not going to happen. It's at best a year away. And we may never actually get one. We may get one, but the problem is that the virus adapts or mutates, and the vaccine may not be sufficient. So we can't rely on things that may never arrive, or may arrive, but it will be too late.
I think we've got to learn to live with this virus, and that will mean behaving responsibly, which many over this weekend have not. So
I don't like this expression of living with the virus. I think it's not a good message to send to the public. We need to live with the virus. It gives this impression of herd immunity, that, you know, the virus is going to be around and we just have to live with it. No, I think we need to control it. It's not the same as living with it. It may never go away, but I don't like the idea that we have to just live with it. I prefer the idea of controlling it, that we are dynamic, that governments and healthcare systems are able to respond quickly, monitor it, and respond quickly when there is the sign of a spike or a number of new cases. But not living with it, because I think it gives the impression that we have failed and it has won. And I don't also like using that type of language, but I think it makes more sense for us to live with a situation where we have it under control.
Is it too early to ease the lockdown? On balance, no, I don't think it is. I think we have to do that. I believe we have to get on with the rest of our lives.
This is a little bit sad for me, because Nigel was going so well for so long, and then at the end he says, is it too early to ease the lockdown? No, it's not, on balance. I disagree. It is too early to ease the lockdown, and not because the UK entered the lockdown much later than other countries, without sufficient testing, without sufficient protection for the public and for NHS staff and other issues. That means that the lockdown will have to last longer. They're ending the lockdown for political reasons, not for medical or scientific reasons. And unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the fruits of the easing of the lockdown within a number of weeks. The numbers will probably increase again, because there's so much mingling going on, and there will be no feeling that is necessary to maintain social distancing. People will become lazy. People will become relaxed. And that's what the virus will require in order to increase its spread. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server, where we share news, chat, and have some fun. If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.